All right, let's get into it. The bad blood battle, Sybase versus Microsoft SQL Server. Now, this isn't just some boring tech history lesson. Oh no, this is a story about ambition, about partnership, and a really, really bitter rivalry that, believe it or not, shaped the software so many of us use every single day. We're talking about two giants who started out as partners and ended up as arch enemies. And the legacy they left? Well, it's still all around us. Yeah, you see that quote? The biggest soap opera in database history. And honestly, that's not an exaggeration. At the absolute center of this whole thing, you've got two partners, one incredibly powerful piece of software, and a corporate divorce so messy it sent shockwaves through the entire tech industry. Okay, so where did this all start? Well, before all the drama, before the rivalry, there was actually a really powerful alliance. And to get why the breakup was so epic, you've got to understand why they even teamed up in the first place. It was all about shared ambition and, you guessed it, a common enemy. So picture this. It's the late 1980s. Sybase, they're the hot new innovators. They've built this absolutely incredible, super high-performance database engine. Meanwhile, you've got Microsoft. And they're looking at this super lucrative database market and thinking, yeah, we want a piece of that. But instead of building their own from scratch, they saw a golden opportunity. They went to Sybase and licensed their code to create the OG version of what we now know as SQL Server. And their goal was huge. They wanted to team up and take down the undisputed titans of the era, Oracle and IBM. But you know how these stories go. This powerful alliance, well, it just wasn't meant to last. Just like in any good drama, tensions started bubbling under the surface. Their strategies started to pull in different directions, and what began as this unified front against the big guys was about to completely fracture. We're talking one of the most legendary breakups in tech history. And then came the year, 1993. This is when it all came crashing down. The partnership officially collapsed. It was over. The two companies were going their separate ways. But here's where things get really, really weird. The outcome of this divorce was bizarre. I mean, this wasn't your normal split, you know? It's not like one got the house and the other got the car. There was no big custody battle over the code. No. Instead, both companies walked away with the exact same thing. They each got the complete, totally identical code base for SQL Server. Wild, right? Just let that sink in for a second. For nearly a decade after the split, you had two fiercely competing products that were, under the hood, identical twins. You could literally write a query from Microsoft SQL Server, then turn around and run it on Sybase's database, and it would work. Perfectly. No changes needed. They were functionally the exact same product, being sold by two companies that were now rivals. So, this created a really fascinating problem, right? What do you do when your biggest competitor is selling the exact same thing you are? Well, you have to forge a whole new identity. And this, right here, is where the story gets super interesting because each company took that shared code and just ran in completely different directions with it. And I mean, their strategies could not have been more different. Microsoft decided to go wide. They wanted to conquer the entire enterprise market, the whole shebang. Their game plan was pretty simple, actually. Just integrate SQL Server so tightly with Windows NT that it would become the no-brainer default choice for businesses. Sybase, though, they went deep. They targeted these very specific, high-stakes niches that needed insane performance. We're talking Wall Street, telecom, places where you can't afford to fail. And you could see this difference in strategy plain as day in their marketing. Microsoft was all about convenience and integration. Their pitch was basically, hey, it just works with Windows, it's easy. Sybase, on the other hand, was selling raw, unadulterated power and bulletproof reliability. Their message was more like, when failure is absolutely not an option, you come to us. And as the years went by, this little divergence became a massive chasm. Microsoft just kept piling on features. They turned SQL Server into this all-in-one data platform, adding tools for BI, analytics, and eventually, of course, the cloud. Sybase did the complete opposite. They stripped things down, they optimized everything, and they became laser-focused on one thing, making their engine the fastest, most reliable machine on the planet for those high-frequency, mission-critical workloads. Okay, so that's a great story, a fun piece of tech history, but so what? What's the takeaway? Why are we even talking about this decades after it happened? Well, it's because the echoes of this corporate divorce are still shaping the database world we live in right now. And that's a totally fair question to ask. I mean, really, why should you, a developer, an IT pro, or just someone who's into tech,
care about this ancient history from 30 years ago? Well, here's why. It explains so much. You ever use SQL Server and wonder, why is that designed that way? Or notice some weird syntax quirk? Chances are the answer lies in its Sybase DNA. This breakup is the very thing that catapulted Microsoft into the database powerhouse it is today. But it also created this sort of hidden giant in Sybase, the unseen engine that was, and in many ways still is, powering global finance. And bigger than that, their rivalry forced everyone else, including the big guys like Oracle and IBM, to step up their game, innovate faster, and bring their prices down. So when all the dust settled, what was the final outcome? Well, Microsoft totally captured the mainstream market. They became the massive database powerhouse that we all know today. Sybase, for their part, solidified their reign over a smaller but unbelievably important kingdom on Wall Street. And the entire market? It was just forever changed by the fire of competition that these two started. So in the end, when you look back, this story really shows you that the breakup, it wasn't just corporate drama. It was a defining moment. It was destiny. It took one piece of identical technology, sent it down two completely different roads, and in doing so, it didn't just create one legacy, it created two. And both of those legacies are still having a massive impact on the world of data today.